Hi. Oh my God. Well, so this is not part of the story, but I have to say this. When I found out that Drew wanted me to do the show, I was like, yes! To be on a stage, doing something like for reals instead of like months and months and doing it on Zoom. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Howland Cultural Center. Thank you, Drew. Okay. All right. Anyway. When I finally got the nerve to tell my large, proud, and sometimes loud New Eurekan family that I had finally been accepted to the school of my dreams, the School of Visual Arts, it was just one more drop in my bottomless family bucket of failure. Because my family reacted like this. I know, Michelle, what are you going to go to art school for? You know, we did not raise you to be una bohemian. Oh, no. Michelle, you cannot be an artist because artists are sucio. They are dirty, they do heroin, they don't pay their rent, and they're all hooers. No, Michelle, we have to take you to Pastor Acevedo. Maybe he can put some sense into you. Oh, you can get a nice job like your cousin Evie. She works for a bank. That's a nice job. Or you can get another job like your cousin Damaris. She is a nurse practitioner. That is a nice job. I didn't listen to them. I went to the School of Visual Arts, and I spent 5 years there. Yes, 5 years, but I finally graduated with a BFA, and I was going to be an artist. Yeah. So after another drop in my bottomless bucket of failure, and another drop, and another drop, and another drop, I decided that maybe I should not be such a decepcionado, such a disappointment to my family. So I actually got a job, a real job, at an advertising agency that had a client roster full of fashion and beauty products. And I said to myself, okay, now finally maybe I can leave all the drama and mistakes of my youth behind me. From now on, everyone I come in contact with is going to be rational, mature, and sophisticated. Except my boss. Oh my God, what a horror. All right, he cursed at me, he threw things at me, and everything, every day was my fault. When I went out to get his lunch and they didn't have Diet RC Cola, this was my fault. Never mind that they didn't friggin' make RC Cola anymore in New York City. And then when I told him that I could not watch House of Style and take notes about the show for him because he was going to spend his night doing cocaine on the rooftop in Tribeca, and he didn't understand why I didn't have cable. And when I told him that was because I'd lived in Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn, and we did not have cable yet, he said, well, I don't understand, why don't you move? And then, of course, when it rained and his hair frizzed up and his editorial didn't get picked again, that was my fault. Everything, every day was my fault. It was kind of like me still living at home, only this time I was getting paid to be insulted, so I took it. And then one day he calls me in the office, and I kind of duck because I think I'm going to get something thrown at me, and he's like, why are you twitching like that? And I was just like, oh, I don't know. And he says to me, I heard a rumor that you can speak Spanish. And I was like, where'd you hear that? So he told me that I had been caught speaking Hispanic in the elevator. And I was like, okay, I didn't, and he said, well, this is good. And I was like, oh, okay, it's good, yes. And he said, because we need you to translate our new campaign into Spanish. We had just gotten this big account from a prestigious hair care company known for its shampoos and conditioners. And they were about to launch a Caribbean campaign, and they wanted me to translate it. And I was like, no, you can't, no. I am not the right person for this job. You don't understand. Like, yes, I speak Hispanic, but I speak kitchen Spanish. Like, sus chuletas siempre tienen sabroso, abuelita. I mean, like chancleta and coquito and ay papi. No, what you need is someone who is totally bilingual. You need someone who does translation for a living. What you need, miss, is your job. So I had no choice. I barricaded myself in a cubicle with a bunch of Spanish and English dictionaries, and like tried to get on the. There were not that many computers around back in the 90s, in the dark ages, and I did not have one of them in my cube. So between all this, and then I got stuck. So I called some of my family members, and when I had to explain to them why I wanted certain words translated, they were like, "Ah! They got you to translate the ads! Ah! They better get themselves a lawyer." And I was furious because, like, I was so tired of being like the red sheep in this family, the one that was just a disappointment at every turn, the one that didn't speak Spanish well, that didn't dance salsa well. I mean, so what if I liked the Clash better than Ricky Martin? Who cared? You know, I was a good little Latino girl. I washed my panties in the shower at night. You know, the very important. Yes, someone knows. Like, I made the best coquito in my family because I was the only one that watched my grandmother do it. And, you know, I was just like, you know what? I'm getting paid for this. So, cállate su boca. Shut up. And that did shut them up for a while. So I got through the ads as best I could. I handed everything to my boss. And everything was fine. Until 2 weeks later, my boss calls me in his office. I have to duck because he threw a one-show annual at my head. Like, you idiot! Effing idiot! You cost this company $1 million account. I'm like, what company? What are you talking about? What? Because, like, you know, you do a job and you forget about it. You're not carrying this thing around with you. Like, what do I care? I give a rat's ass. What? Just give me, I'll do the job, pay me, whatever. I had no clue. So he takes out, I don't know if any of you people remember what a photostat is. It was like a large photocopy, very shiny, and it was of one of the ads that I translated, and there was this one word that was highlighted in yellow several times in this like 24 by 36-inch document. And I'm like, what? He says, you put a nasty word, you put a dirty word in these ads. I'm like, what? What word? And he points again, and he goes, pelo, see? Pelo, 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 pelo. And I'm like, pelo? Pelo's not a dirty word in Spanish. Pelo means hair. Come on, I'll prove it to you. He agrees, and we go downstairs. There's a 2-floor office. From the creative department, with its leather couches, fresh flowers, and lunch every day, we go down the spiral staircase to the other floor that looks like basically a warehouse, where the production department is, and the maintenance is, and where every other Latino employee of this company worked. I'd never really noticed that before. And we went to see Hector, who ran the merch room, and he was from Venezuela. And I'm like, Hector, what does pelo mean? Is pelo dirty? And he's like, no, Michele, pelo means hair. And we go to see Yvette, a Brooklyn Boricua, who is the receptionist. I'm like, Yvette, is pelo dirty? She's like, no, Michele, pelo means hair. And I'm like, see, to my boss? And then we go see Edwige, who's Mexican, and he runs a production department. And I'm like, Edwige, is pelo dirty? He's like, no, Michele, pelo was not dirty, but your pelo does look dirty. And I'm like, oh, cállate, please. And like, and then we go to see another person, and pelo means hair. And I'm just like, see, and my boss is trying to say, oh, and then I see Soledad. Soledad is the intern from accounting, originally from Calle Ocho in Havana, Cuba. I mean, in Miami, well, which is the same thing. Calle Ocho is like Cuba. Miami, Cuba, the same thing. And I'm feeling bold now. And I'm like, mira, Soli, come over here, ven aquí. And she's like, hi, Michele. And I'm like, so tell me, is pelo a dirty word? You know, hair, pelo? And she goes, her brown skin turns white. And she goes, ah. And she grabs me by the shoulders and she spins me towards her. And she goes, shh, don't say that in front of a man. That's bad. And my boss says, see, I knew you were good for nothing. You're fired. And he went and he told the entire company that the ad that I translated for this hair care company said that blah, blah hair care company for hair that's restored, brilliant, and conditioned all over your pubic hair. And they believed her. And it didn't matter that she was only 17. It didn't matter that she was from a Pentecostal sect so severe that the women were not even allowed to tweeze their abundant chin hairs. I was guilty, guilty, guilty. I said that the conditioner was for your pubic hair. So my stomach was like down, and I just like left. I just left, and I thought, wait a second, I'm freelance. How could I be fired? So the next morning, I had left some things behind because I just left. So I went into the office to get, like my coffee cup, like my famous. Everybody has this cup that they like, right? And I'm packing things in my backpack, and I noticed that the office is like quiet. I'm like, well, where is everybody? And I hear this murmuring, and I go into this large conference room where we had 2 televisions, and everybody is watching the television because they are about to give the verdict in the O.J. Simpson trial. And this room was as polarized as this country is today about mask wearing. All the black and brown people were on this side, all the pink and peach people were on that side, and then in the middle, me and the one Asian employee. And then when they give the verdict, the reaction is, you could think, the black and brown people are like, yeah! Or the pink and peach people are like, what's going to happen now? And then the phones start ringing, and all the rumors start happening that they were invading Grand Central and beating people up. They were in Penn Station robbing people. They were coursing down the streets of Manhattan causing havoc. And all the young, lithe, blonde account managers who had to go to these points of egress, Grand Central, Penn Station, Port Authority, to get to their suburban homes, were terrified that they were going to be raped and dismembered in the streets, and they said, someone has to walk us there. And guess who walked all these young women to their places of egress? Damn right, they did. Every black and brown man in my company walked one of these women to make sure that they got safely home. And meanwhile, people are like, Michelle, are you going to be okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from New York. I'm going to be fine, please. So, I'm in the elevator, and my ex-boss is there, and he's just staring straight ahead, and well, what am I going to say? And so I just leave, and when I get to the street, I see something really weird. All these businesses are, pulling down their gates, and, you could feel this palpable kind of, fear energy in the street. And, people you could tell that never took an express bus in their life. Nobody wants to go into the subway. No one wants to go into the 6 train. No one wants to go into the F train. They're all lined up by the express bus, and there are hundreds of people in the street, literally hundreds of people. And I had to walk. I couldn't walk on the sidewalk. And I'm like, well, this is friggin' crazy. All you need is one stupid taxi to backfire, and it's going to be like the Who in Cincinnati. If you remember that, you're old like me. And it was crazy. So I ended up walking back to Brooklyn, 7.5 miles. I knew this because I'm a nerd. I had a pedometer. And basically, I was so exhausted, I drank a half a bottle of wine because I'm fired. I don't have a job to go to tomorrow. And I go to sleep, and I wake up when the phone rings. It's 10 after 10. It's my boss. Where the hell are you? How come you're not at work? And I'm like, well, you fired me yesterday. And he goes, you can't be fired. You're freelance. No, get in here before I really fire you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get to work. And there is a box on my desk, and the box is from the hair care company, and inside this box was a letter thanking me for my invaluable contribution to the Caribbean campaign and a year's supply of their famous shampoo and conditioner. So not only did I not put a dirty word in the ads, because pelo means hair, and there was a fancier word called cabello, which I didn't know because I speak kitchen Spanish, but it was fine. They gave us more money to do another campaign. My boss got fired 6 months later, and because he was an ad, I outlived this tenure by another, it's 7 or 8 years. But the best part of this story is that for the next year, I had the most refined, brillante, and acondicionado pelo in Brooklyn all over my body. Thank you.
Michele Carlo, everyone. All right.